So he's backing up. He's like, oh man, no, he be tripping sometimes. Man, we know you are, man. It's my fault. We, don't. I mean, I'm sorry. And all of a sudden, the bushes flutter, and you see somebody run out of the bushes, and it was Philip Walter Merriam at the time. He runs and he tries to, he gets to his guy. His guy grabs him. It's like, man, no. He pushes him away. But when he pushes, he lifts his shirt and he reaches. But when I saw him start to reach, that's when I took my gun and I fired. Now you have to remember now, like I told you, there was like a little incline. My hope, I wanted to hit him in the lower part of his body. So as I'm aiming, he's turning. And as I'm aiming here, I fire, pow, 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 pow. At the same time, it's exactly consistent with what I said.
Lately, the music world's been buzzing, and it's all about Snoop Dogg and Suge Knight. It's like a story pulled straight from a drama series, keeping everyone glued to what's next. The spotlight's on Knight, the former big boss of Death Row Records, who's currently behind bars but still making waves with his words. He's dropped some heavy claims about Snoop Dogg, dating back to a murder case from the 90s that had everyone talking. This twist has thrown us back into the days of West Coast hip-hop's highs and lows, turning up old stories and secrets that have got everyone talking. It's like we're all waiting to see how Snoop Dogg will respond to these explosive allegations and what moves he'll make next. The drama between these two is more than just gossip. It's a deep dive into a chapter of music history that's as fascinating as it is complex. 1. The allegations made by Knight. The recent talk by Knight about his role in the Snoop Dogg murder case has brought attention back to the West Coast hip-hop world. Knight, who used to run Death Row Records, made some big claims on a show called Collect Call with Suge Knight, which was aired on Dave Mays' Breakbeat Media. He said that he played a big part in keeping Snoop Dogg from getting a life sentence in jail. This case goes back to 1993, when Snoop Dogg and his bodyguard were arrested for the murder of Philip Little Smooth Woldemariam in Los Angeles. Knight talks about how he helped come up with a defense strategy based on the kind of bullets used, which he believes was key to winning the case. Knight's story doesn't just stop with the courtroom stuff. He also said he paid $6 million to deal with problems after the incident, including dealing with someone trying to blackmail Snoop Dogg. According to Knight, this involved meeting with a private investigator to clear things up, which led to getting rid of a tape that could have been harmful.
Now, for Snoop to say him and Michael Harris are doing something together as a team, that tells you a lot of, I'm disappointed in that motherfucker, because if it weren't for me, you'd still be in prison doing life. You turn around and you say you partners up with this dude, neither one of y'all got death row, or bought death row, or purchased death row. Now, it's fun.
So what you mean when you say, that he'd still be in prison?
Because when Snoop got convicted for the murder,
Snoop Doggy Dogg, a judge in Los Angeles refused today to drop murder charges against him.
We, the jury in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Calvin Brodus, not guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree.
we had one song on it in my hotel room, and they was all in the room. When me and Bunchy walked into the room, they was all crying. Why everybody so sad with watery eyes? They said, if he getting life, he can't beat this case. It's gonna testify that Snoop the one shot the dude and killed him. He recorded him, I heard it for myself. The guy wanted to play ball. He got some bread. He destroyed the tape. And that's one of the things. But the most important thing, from Interscope, from everyone else that was in the business, told me do not waste a dollar on that. I spent $6 million on that case to make sure he didn't get life in prison.
Snoop Dogg's Bodyguard also shared his side of the story in an interview with Cam Capone News. He talked about a fight that got out of hand, leading him to shoot in self-defense. Malik tried to shoot the victim in the lower body to avoid killing him, but the man was hit in the hip and shoulder blade and died. The situation got more complicated when the victim's friends took the gun away, making it harder for the police to figure out what happened.
So he's backing up. He's like, oh man, no, he be tripping sometimes, man. We know you are, man. It's my fault. I'm sorry. And all of a sudden, the bushes flutter. And you see somebody run out of the bushes. And it was Philip Walter Merriam at the time. He runs and he tries to, he gets to his guy grabs him. It's like, man, no. He pushes him away. But when he pushes, he lifts his shirt and he reaches. But when I saw him start to reach, that's when I took my gun and I fired. Now you have to remember now, like I told you, there was like a little incline. My hope, I wanted to hit him in the lower part of his body. So as I'm aiming, he's turning. And as I'm aiming here, I fire, pow, 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 pow. At the same time, it's exactly consistent with what I said.
In the end, Snoop Dogg and his bodyguard were cleared of all charges. Their lawyers argued they acted in self-defense and pointed out mistakes made by the Los Angeles Police Department. This trial is a big part of West Coast hip-hop history, showing the tough mix of music, fame, and legal issues. Knight's recent statements add more to the story of his complicated relationship with Snoop Dogg, highlighting the drama around Death Row Records and its impact. Knight's story, true or not, shows the complex world of the music industry, especially in hip-hop, where personal and work life often clash with big results. 2. The background between Knight and Snoop Dogg. The story of Snoop Dogg and Knight is like a big chapter in hip-hop's book, mixing music, power, and a surprising twist of making up after a long feud. It all started back in the early 90s, a golden time for rap, with Death Row Records leading the West Coast scene. The main characters in this tale are Snoop Dogg, a young rapper known for his smooth style and cool lyrics, and Knight, the tough and often controversial boss of Death Row. Snoop Dogg's adventure with Death Row kicked off when Dr. Dre, a top music producer, took him under his wing. Dre loved Snoop's chill rap style and sharp words, leading to hit songs that shook up the music world. Snoop's first album, Doggy Style, was a smash hit, making him a star overnight. But behind the scenes, Knight ran the show at Death Row with a mix of strict control and a scary reputation, creating an atmosphere filled with loyalty and fear. Snoop and Knight had a complicated relationship. Knight played a big part in Snoop's rise to fame, but the problems and bad image linked to Death Row started to bother Snoop. Things got really tough when Snoop was charged with murder, a situation that made him rethink his life and the negative side of being with Death Row. When Dr. Dre left Death Row, it was a sign for Snoop that things were changing for the worse. Feeling out of place and worried about his future, Snoop left Death Row for No Limit Records, run by Master P. This move was a chance for Snoop to start fresh and move away from Knight's influence. After Snoop left, there was a lot of bad blood, with Snoop even releasing a song that disses Knight. This period showed just how bad things had gotten between them, with Snoop openly slamming Knight's way of doing things. Despite this, they both kept making music and going their separate ways in the rap game. As time went on, both Snoop and Knight went through their own highs and lows. Snoop became a hip-hop legend, while Knight ended up in jail facing his own battles. But in a surprising turn, Snoop and Knight made peace. This wasn't just a big deal for them personally, but it was a huge moment in hip-hop, showing that forgiveness is possible. Snoop even made a song called Bygones Be Bygones, talking about letting go of the past and moving forward peacefully, marking a new chapter in their history. 3. Snoop Dogg's response and what it could mean for him. Snoop Dogg's recent silence in response to Knight's explosive claims has everyone talking and wondering what it all means. Knight, the former head honcho of Death Row Records, stirred up the scene with some big statements on Collect Call with Suge Knight, aired by Dave May's Breakbeat Media. He claimed he played a crucial role in saving Snoop Dogg from a potential life sentence back in the day. This all goes back to 1993, when Snoop and his bodyguard were tangled up in a serious legal battle over the shooting of Philip Little Smooth Waldemariam in Los Angeles. According to Knight, his strategy on the defense, focusing on the type of bullets, was a game changer in court. Snoop hasn't said much about Knight's allegations, and this silence is making waves. People are guessing why he's keeping quiet. Maybe he's trying not to add fuel to the fire, or waiting for the right legal advice. But in today's world, where everyone has an opinion online, not saying anything can also speak volumes. The longer Snoop stays silent, the more people might wonder if there's truth to Knight's words, which could throw a shadow over Snoop's impressive career and his recent big moves, like buying Death Row Records. This situation is a tricky one. Snoop's decision not to respond might be a smart move, keeping the drama at bay, or it could be a risky play, with his fans and the public left hanging for answers. The whole thing brings a spotlight back onto the drama-filled days of West Coast hip-hop, reminding everyone of the complex histories and relationships that shape the music and the artists we know today. 4. What's next for Snoop Dogg and Knight? Looking at what might happen next for Snoop Dogg and Knight, there's a lot of guessing and wondering going on. Knight, who is in jail right now, decided to speak up and make some pretty big claims about his past with Snoop Dogg. Some people think he's just trying to stay in the spotlight, or maybe he's trying to bring up old problems. Since he's in jail, he can't do much in the music world anymore, but his words are still causing a stir. He's hinted that he might have more to say that could shake things up even more. If he comes out with more information, it could lead to some legal trouble if what he's saying turns out to be true. On the other side, we have Snoop Dogg, who's doing a lot of different things these days, not just music. He's also into business and TV. How he deals with what Knight is saying could change how people see him. He could choose to stay quiet, hoping to avoid making things worse. This might help him keep focused on his work and not get dragged into a big mess. But if he doesn't say anything, people might start to wonder if there's truth to Knight's claims, which could hurt his image. Then there's the chance that Snoop Dogg decides to respond. If he does, it could start the whole drama all over again. Fighting back could make even more people pay attention to what's going on, and it might not look good for him. It could also give what Knight is saying more attention, which might not be what Snoop wants. The idea of Knight sharing more stuff from jail is something that could really change how things go. If he does, Snoop might have to come out and defend himself to keep his good name. This could get messy, with legal fights and a lot of talk in the media, which could dig up old stories from the their past. No matter what happens, this situation between Snoop Dogg and Knight is very interesting to a lot of people. It's not just about them, but about a big part of music history. How they handle this could change how we see them and remember the music and stories from their time. Everyone's watching to see what will happen next, ready for more twists in the story of these two big names in hip-hop. So what do you think will happen? Will Suge Knight keep spreading more news about Snoop Dogg? Will Snoop Dogg respond to anything that Knight is saying? Will Snoop Dogg end up behind bars too? Let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time.